Yes, Net Zany, the insane world of net zero. The South Australian Libs have now said, yep, let's get rid of net zero. So has Nigel Farage over in Britain. Next Prime Minister of Britain, next occupant of number 10 Downing Street. Have a listen to what he has to say.
If we win the next election, we will scrap net zero, something that is costing the Exchequer an extraordinary £40 billion plus every year.
So, Donald Trump scrapped net zero. New Zealand has scrapped net zero. Britain will scrap net zero. Little old Australia. Why don't we hear from the coalition the cost of net zero to Australians? If it's £40 billion per annum in Britain, Trump said it was however much, hundreds of millions of dollars. What is the cost of net zero? Why aren't we being told we're paying it on our electricity bills, we're paying it through subsidies? Can somebody please tell us the cost? The Aussie battler needs to know, deserves to know.
And none of those countries you've just mentioned are blessed with the natural resources we are.
That's
so
right.
For us, it's even crazier to be going down that road because we should have the cheapest energy prices anywhere in the world.
We used to.
Well,
Absolutely.
because we are blessed. We are blessed with enormous amounts of gas, coal, uranium. We've got everything here. And yet our citizens pay some of the highest electricity costs. It's crippling manufacturing, and it's only going to get worse if we keep going down this road. It is 20, 30 years' time, they will look back at this period and think we were all mad.
Yep.
Well, it is completely mad. It's not only the thousands of dollars more we've seen on our power bills, the many thousands more that businesses, small businesses, by the way, really hurt the most of this because they don't have the cash flow to absorb these things. Talk to somebody like Dai Lee, who represents a seat in Western Sydney, about what small businesses, cafes, restaurants, just the cost of refrigeration and freezing and gas and all of that. Massive. They can't absorb those costs. They get passed on to consumers who can't afford to go out anyway, and it's this vicious cycle. But, on the other end, too, the things like, I don't know why they didn't say, the Liberals, we are going to ditch the capacity mechanism, which is basically the carbon trading scheme for the top companies, which is, again, this huge impost. This is something that hits at every single level of the economy. No one's articulating it. Certainly, the UK and the U.S. The other thing, too, we have to talk about this is they don't have bans on nuclear power either.
Exactly.
So they get that as well. This has been an incredible act of self-harm. Australia has, as people like Greg Sheridan have been warning, heading down a path towards mediocrity. And a large part of the reason why we are heading down this path to mediocrity is because everything costs too much, because the power that goes into it costs too much.
And in the run-up to the election, when Peter Dutton had every opportunity, when Donald Trump pulled out of Paris, to simply say, look, if we win government, we'll look at the Paris Agreement because obviously everything has changed now. Instead, he said, we signed a treaty, so we're going to stay with it. How did that go for you guys? A, Menzies was against signing treaties. B, just run that result past me again. What happened with the coalition?
It was a landslide.
Rita? Certainly was a landslide. I got that bit right. It was a landslide to Labor.
Give the Australian people a choice. In 2019 was the last time they had a choice when it came to energy policy. And the coalition somehow won the unwinnable election.
Yep.
And it was in large part to do...
because they said they wouldn't go down the net zero route.
And we just had polling that came out again this week showing that the majority of Australians prioritise cost over emissions.
Absolutely.
And we know that even if the polls don't show that, you can sell that when people... purchase an airline ticket.
Of course.
What percentage
no one
of them
takes
try
that
to
thing.
offset the
There's
carbon?
a bigger point here, too. I'm glad you mentioned that coalition result because, in a few weeks' time, all of the coalition MPs are going to go to Canberra, they're going to sit on their benches, the opposition benches, and they're going to see this wall of Labor. And for the past several weeks and for the next several weeks, we're going to hear over and over again from commentators saying, it's because you turned too far to the right. It's because you listened to Sky News. I'm sorry, but no one can tell me. I've asked a lot of people who've written some of these columns and said, where did they go really hard right? They didn't go hard right on net zero. When it was the welcome to country thing, Peter Dutton, everybody says, he was making a culture war welcome to country. He said welcome to countries were important. So, it's like you can't find some sort of area where they were prosecuting some crazy culture war. Okay, fine, work from home. Oh, wow, okay, fine. But, beyond that, this is an election where they fought on no principles at all, essentially. They didn't stick to any principles.
No, they had principles, which was to outspend Labor.
Yeah, and all they outspend Labor. They turned left and, They lost. So all
what
of
the
these
Liberal
commentators
Party
who say they need to turn left, and these people would never vote for the Liberals if it fit anyway.
What the Liberal Party did, what HQ Liberal Party did in the elections, they said, what have outsiders said today that we should do? OK, let's do the opposite. They did that for the entire election campaign.
Why...
Whatever Sky News suggested, or particularly this show suggested, they did the opposite.
Well, and
they lost.
Why?
Massively.
They were decimated, Ro.
Yes,
They didn't
exactly.
just lose, they
now,
were smashed.
Let's talk some positive news. David Crisafulli, criticised him in the past, but he's doing a great job there. He's probably the preeminent Liberal now in Australian politics, cancelling, axing a gigantic wind farm. Another wind farm closed this week because, they're shutting down or they're not investing in them. They've axed this $1 billion wind farm because people are waking up to the reality that it is nonsense. Crisafulli is also bringing back coal, putting more emphasis on coal and so on, as well as gas and other things. James, King Charles.
King Charles, yes. What has King Charles been up to?
Well, he's been up to
doing
wandering
a lot of
around.
Land acknowledgements.
Yes. Welcome to country.
Elaborate land acknowledgement in Canada.
The Algonquin tribe, who now own Canada, apparently.
Now, this is fascinating because he was in Canada and he opens the Canadian Parliament with this land acknowledgement and says it's unceded, I think, which suggests that he's the sovereign of an illegitimate nation.
As sovereign, he handed over sovereignty to the Algonquin. If I were a lawyer, the Algonquin's lawyer, I'd be sitting there going, you beauty, yes, give it here. It's ours now. And, talk about welcome to country. This is what will happen if Charles comes here again. He'll do the same thing. It's insane. It's completely insane.
He did, but on the net zany front, he also blathered on about climate change, as he often does, and then he took a 27-car motorcade to the airport.
Absolutely.
So, as always with Charles, it's not do as I say, not as I do, because this is a man who likes to take helicopters for very short distances.
Of course, to lecture the plebs.